Computer. Welcome to the Dr. Tom Show. Today, I am really excited to have a fantastic human being and chiropractor with us. He is the CEO of Optimal Health Coaching System. He's done 30,000 coaching sessions and given over 60 live events worldwide. He's received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the CLA, and he uses questioning and neuroscience of communication to allow patients to see the full value of care and follow through. He wants you to build a practice without complicated marketing systems, and it's something that means a lot to me, and I'm really, really honored that Dr. Russ Rosen has taken the time out of his busy schedule to join us all the way from California. Welcome to the show, Russ. Thank you very much for being with us.
Dr. Tom, thank you for having me. I'm still going to give an aloha because my heart is still in Maui. We'll be back there at some point, but I am in California right now, so I don't know what they say here, but aloha. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. And true to form, Russ, you are wearing a Hawaiian shirt, so I really appreciate that. Those who are going to watch this on the YouTube will appreciate that too. So communication is a big thing, and it's super, super important that we connect and communicate with our patients right. What is the importance of communication in practice? Why is it so important?
Yeah, look, here's the deal. If we all hear people say, if they knew what you knew, they do what you do, right? If they get it, if your patients really get it, they'll want what you offer. Well, how do we get them to get it? And if you take a look at our history, 1895 till now, and how many people are actually doing this regularly, I would suggest that we're doing a poor job of getting people to get it. I pride myself on helping doctors who want to help people get healthy and stay healthy versus just getting out of pain, run waitlisted practices. Well, how do you do it? Well, you've either got to have a ton of marketing and you've got a revolving door, which sucks as far as I'm concerned, or you've got to get people to get it. And if they get it, they'll stick around long enough, and they stick around long enough, they'll get the results, because we know that in the first 10, 15, maybe 20 visits, they'll be feeling better, but will we have resolved their problems? And the answer is no, not even close. They'll feel better, but we won't have helped them to resolve their problems. So we want to help people get healthy and stay healthy for a lifetime. They have to get what we do and want what we offer. And we have to learn a new way of communicating, which is called the neuroscience of communications.
You're absolutely right. And I think it's twofold, really, isn't it? Because it's not only that the patients are going to actually get results, which we want, but the chiropractor is going to feel more fulfilled in their practice. There's a level of congruency between what they want and actually what's happening. Now, this neuroscience of communication, tell me about it, because it's really, forgive the pun, it's cerebral. But I'd love to delve into it and really understand, where you're coming from with it and how we can use it in our practices to make a difference.
Yeah, let's dive into it. Look, we need to recognize that there's a gap, and it's a massive gap. And the gap is what people think when they come in to see us versus what we know we can do for them. I think you can help me with neck pain, back pain, and headaches, maybe at best. I recognize that we can help you get healthy, stay healthy, and have the best life possible. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a huge gap. Well, how do we close that gap? Well, we're going to have to help them understand what we understand. But here's the problem. They don't care about chiropractic. And as we start to educate them, as we start to tell the story, because you got to tell the story, they tune out. That's just simply what happens. They don't care about D.D. Palmer. They don't care about B.J. Palmer. They don't care about your technique guru. Dr. Tom, what did they care about?
Themselves.
That's all they care about.
Yeah.
Right? WIIFM, what's in it for me? That's what they care about. So if we can learn the neuroscience of communications, which is simply, how do I get them to get it? It's literally, how do you get people to say yes who want to say yes? Now, we're not trying to get people to say yes who want to say no. Mm. We're not using scare tactics. We're not using fear. We're not using manipulation. We're simply using this real science called the neuroscience of communications to learn how to get them to understand what we understand. So how do you do it? Well, here we go. If we take a look at the brain, we've got the reptilian brain. So do you remember what the reptilian brain does for a living back from the days of school?
Fight and flight, am I right?
Yeah, okay. Amygdala is fight or flight.
Yeah.
And the reptilian brain is all about filtering.
Okay, yes,
It's just about filtering information. The three F's: food, fighting, and fornication. Okay? So it's all about survival, right? And it's filtering information, and it's filtering 96 to 99% of all information coming in gets filtered and never makes it to the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, and problem solving. So far, so good?
Mm-hmm.
So right now, do you happen to have a shoe and sock on?
Unfortunately not.
You
But I
don't?
can put
Good,
one
fair
on.
enough. Is your foot on the ground?
It is indeed.
Okay, now can you feel your foot on the ground?
I can now, you've told me.
Yeah, but a moment ago you weren't thinking of it. How
No.
come? Because your reptilian brain was saying, this isn't important, right? We're having a conversation. This is actually important right now. I'm going to filter that out. So recognize that in a normal conversation, we're filtering out and we only hear about 25% of what the other person is saying. As you and I are speaking, I'm listening, I'm trying to decipher and figure out what you're saying, but I'm also trying to think about what I'm going to say to you and how I'm going to respond to you. And if you say something that irritates me, I'm going off on an internal dialogue about what a goofball you are, or if you say something, or if I find you, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm also thinking about what do I need to pick up on the way home? Like there's all this stuff going on in our brain, because our brain literally works about 7 times faster than an average conversation. So here's my question to you. What percentage of your information about chiropractic do you want your patient to understand?
Very small, I would say.
No. You want them to, what would you like them to understand as you're speaking with them? How much of it would you like them to hear and understand?
Oh, all of it.
All of it,
Yeah.
100%. Are you happy with 25%? No. No. So we want 100%. And I guarantee you, you can have it. You just need to understand the neuroscience of communications. And the reality is when we're speaking with people, we can literally cause people to say no who wanted to say yes. And we've all seen it. We've had patients come in and they looked like they were on board and then they had to go home and think about it. Or they were under care and appeared to be happy, but then they just never showed up. And the odds are we caused it. So far, so good?
Yes.
So just as an example, here's an example. There was a study done. My favorite book is The Influence of Psychology by Robert Cialdini. And they did a study and they said a waiter is going to come up to a patron at a restaurant and ask them what they would like and then repeat it back to them. So the person would say, I'd like a ham on rye, hold the mayo. And the waiter would respond back, oh, okay, so you'd like a ham on rye with no mayo. So because they said with no mayo instead of hold the mayo, on average, they lost 23% of their tip. Why? Because they didn't use the same words. Why? Because when we echo and use the same words, they feel like we're in their inner circle. They like us better, and therefore they tip us better. So most of the neuroscience of communications is subconscious. In fact, the vast majority of it is subconscious. If we don't understand it, we're shooting ourselves in the foot all the time. If we do understand it, it becomes, shooting ducks in a barrel. It is so easy to use it once we understand it. Does that make sense so far?
Makes sense. It sounds to me, forgive me for interrupting, it sounds like to me like it really is opening more of a dialogue than telling the patients what they need. Is that right? Because you're talking about the paraphrasing and well, not necessarily paraphrasing, exact phrasing.
And we're gonna show exactly how we do that. So we've got the reptilian brain filters information. We want our information to make it to the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, and problem solving. And if it makes it to the neocortex and it makes sense, thank God chiropractic makes sense, it'll drop into the limbic system as a new belief system. So the limbic system, emotions, is where all decisions are made. All buying decisions are made there. We think it's in our frontal cortex that I think it through, and I weigh this and weigh that, but really it ends up coming from our gut, which is the limbic system. So we want to get our information past the reptilian brain into the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, and problem solving into the limbic system, and it's a new belief system. We have Dr. Tomites, we have Russites, we have Rosenites, right? That's what we end up getting when it drops into the limbic system. Here's the challenge. How do we get it past the reptilian brain? Because if it doesn't get past the reptilian brain, did they actually hear it?
No.
They didn't, right? You're sitting in class, you're drooling. You're hearing your teacher drone on, wah, 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 and you're just drooling and you're looking out the window going, North Shore is going off. I want to be surfing so bad today. And wah, wah, and that'll be on the test. What'll be on the test, right? Because your reptilian brain was saying, this isn't important, right? This isn't important. I'm not going to send it up to the neocortex. Well, then you didn't get it. So the question is, how do I get my information past their reptilian brain so it makes it to the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, problem solving, so it'll drop it into the limbic system? And the answer is this. You've got choices. You could do food, fighting, and fornication. Not a good idea to do with your patients, right? Reggie boards have a problem with doing that with our patients. So let's take that one off the table. All right, well, if we're not going to do that, we need to make it new, novel, and exciting, something that's going to keep their attention. So the whole goal of this game is to get the reptilian brain's attention, right? Like, with a little cat with you've seen the videos with a light, bing, bing, and the cat's chasing it. You've got their attention. So I want to get their attention. I want to keep their attention. Now, here's the key. Here's how we do it. We have to quit speaking from our neocortex to their neocortex. That's what we have to stop doing. The problem is that's what we were taught. But when you were in class, your teachers were speaking from their neocortex to your neocortex. They were trying to teach you something and educate you about something. But the problem is our patients don't care. All they care about is themselves. So if I can speak from my neocortex to their reptilian brain, they will send the information to their neocortex, 8-ball corner pocket, I'm home. That will just drop into the limbic system, no problem. Questions so far?
No. Captivated.
All right. So how do you do it? How do you actually speak to their reptilian brain? Well, we're going to do 3 things. 1, we're going to use Socratic questions. 2, we're going to use stories. And 3, we're going to use metaphors. People love stories about people and especially about themselves. Amazing. They're coming in wanting to talk about themselves. We're in luck, right? This is fantastic. They want to talk about them. If we can listen to them instead of telling them our story, right? If we can make our story about their story, we can apply our story to their story. So literally, this is what happens right here. This is my story about chiropractic. Subluxations are caused by 3-dimensional stress. When you have subluxations, you're not getting proper nerve supply. When you're not getting proper nerve supply, this is my story, right? And I want to come and I want to teach you about this. But here's the problem. They don't care. So if I can draw your story out of you, which I'll show you how to do in 1 second, then I take my story and apply it to your story. You will now take this and drop it into your limbic system as your new truth. This is your new story. It's not my story. They literally will walk out and parrot this new story to their spouses and their friends because it's their story. And you literally will just agree with them. We're going to ask very specific Socratic questions, such as, do you think it's a back problem or a health problem? And they'll go, clearly, this is a health problem. And you'll go, I'd agree, right? But that's a new story. But they don't know it's a new story. So we're literally speaking from our neocortex to their reptilian brain. We're using Socratic questions, stories, and metaphors. So what's a Socratic question? Tom, what's your last name?
Waller.
Did you learn anything?
Always.
Yeah. No, I mean, you already knew your last name, right?
Yeah.
All right. That's not a Socratic question.
No.
Here's a Socratic question. Why do you think this keeps coming back? What do you think brought this on in the first place? where do you think you're at on the scale of -10 to 0 to +10 as far as your health? What level of health would you like to get to? Those are Socratic questions. Those are questions that cause people to do this. It makes them think. That's a Socratic question. Now, for those of you who are watching this, I want you to watch what Dr. Tom just did. He just did it again. See, when I throw those questions there, he goes like this. He's literally sending it up to the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, and problem solving, right? Every time I do that, you go like that. And you literally will watch your patients go like this. You ask them a question, they'll look up, they'll look back to you, or they'll look to the side, and then they'll look back to you and they'll give you an answer. 8-ball corner pocket. I know it made it to the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, and problem solving. You just did it again. Right? I mean, that's how it is. Now you're going, hey, don't look at me. Right? But that's how it happens.
I'm no good at poker. Come on.
It's that simple. Right? Does that make sense to you?
Yes,
Tom?
it does. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to use stories, metaphors, Socratic questions, stories, and metaphors. And by doing so, we're going to get our information onto their story. And then we're going to have a brand new story that's in their limbic system as a new belief system.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look at a consultation, okay? In a consultation, I want to have it done by design. We've all done consultations where we've been led around by nose hairs, which unfortunately I have too many of. And we're just drawn about, you know, and it's like, you can't get out of this consultation. You know, you want to spend an average of X number of minutes, you know, 5 minutes on a consult, 10 minutes, whatever it is, I don't care. And it's like, you know, 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, 15 minutes, you're getting backed up. You can't get out of this consultation. They won't stop talking and they keep going down these rabbit holes. Tom, that ever happened to you?
Boy, it has. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Or have you ever had just a stellar consult? A couple of minutes, they knew they were in the presence of a master. You know what's going on. They're ready to move into the exam. Has that ever happened?
Occasionally does. Yeah.
Occasionally does. So here's the deal. Can we have that happen all of the time? And I'm going to suggest the answer to that is just about 100%. Every once in a while not, but when you learn these tricks of neuroscience of communication, you can fix those problems. Now, when I'm coaching chiropractors, they record live interactions, visit one. We listen to those together and I get to point out roadblocks. After we've done that a couple of times, they're not having those problems anymore because we're doing it by design. I'm helping you see blind spots that you just didn't see before. And once you see that, boom, you can do it by design. So here's the overview of a consultation. Then we're going to dive deep into one piece of it that most of us have never heard before. And I promise you, if you will start to do what I'm talking about, you'll get better results. You'll spend a fraction of the time that you're spending. Literally, the way I look at it is, and I show docs this all the time, we listen to their consultation, which goes like 15 minutes. And I'll go, great. You got them from point 1 to point 10. That's where you got them to over 15 minutes. And then as we're listening to it, I'm showing them what I'm going to be showing you in just a moment. And within 3 to 4 minutes, we're there. We got from 1 to 10, but we did it in 3 or 4 minutes. So my question is, if you could get there in a fraction of the time, would you want to do that?
Indeed.
Yep. Indeed, I would. Now, if you're fresh out of school, you're thinking, well, no, the reason why they think I do such a good job is because I spend an hour in a consult and do every orthopedic neurologic evaluation. And that's all nonsense. The less time you spend when you get there, they know they're in the presence of a master and you get better results. Just no question about it. So far, so good?
Really good.
All right. So we've all heard that we want to build rapport. So first thing we want to do in a consultation is we want to build rapport. Let me ask you this. You've heard that before, right?
Yes.
Why do we want to build rapport?
To gain connection and trust.
To get connection and trust. Because if they don't trust us, are they going to buy from us?
No.
No, they're not. In fact, from a neuroscience communications perspective, if they don't trust us, they start filtering into the amygdala, which is fight or flight.
Yeah.
And if they're doing fight or flight, they're not sending anything to the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, and problem solving. And the truth of the matter is, Dr. Tom, when we meet people, all human beings go like this. And they sniff each other under the tail, just like dogs. That's what we do when we meet each other. Our brain subconsciously is checking in and saying friend or foe. If it's foe, nothing's making it to the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, and problem solving. We've got a problem. If it's friend, immediately they're sending the information. It's new, novel, exciting. They're engaged. They're wanting to be present. Reptilian brain is engaged, step one. So we have 2 questions we ask. It takes literally 15 seconds. Boom, you've got it. I don't care how much time you spend at all. Well, I do. I'd rather you spend less time, but we want to get rapport. Now, once we have rapport, I want to relieve concerns and fears. Let me ask you this, Dr. Tom. Has anyone ever come to see you or a chiropractor that has felt anxiety or fear?
Yes.
A lot. A lot. There's a lot of stories about you're going to get hurt, they're going to rip you off, they're going to keep you coming, they're going to make you come forever. Like, I got to talk about, you know, I can't get an erection. Like, there's all this fear that is there. Now, what's the problem if they're in fear? Do you remember?
It filters out.
Say it again.
It filters out. It doesn't get dropped in.
That's right, because they're in the amygdala.
Yeah.
If they're in the amygdala, it doesn't make it to the neocortex because they're in fear. So 15 seconds, I'm going to build rapport. I'm going to relieve your concerns and fears. It takes about 20 seconds. Now I'm going to find out why you're truly here. Now, I know that sounds kind of goofy because when I ask doctors, the answer is because they're in pain. And I'm going to suggest to you that no one has ever come to see you, not once, ever, because of their pain. They're here because of loss or potential fear of loss. See, people are walking around in pain all the time that don't do anything about it, right? It's once there's loss or potential fear of loss is when they decide to do something about it, right? So I'm going to build rapport. I'm going to relieve concerns and fears. I'm going to find out why they're truly here. I'll talk about 3 dimensions of stress so I can eventually say, accumulation of stress over time, no wonder you're in the shape you're in, right? Start to build a bigger understanding, right? Classic, no wonder this is going on, right? This happened, you now are experiencing this. I'm entering the conversation in their mind, which is, why is this happening to me? And then I'm offering hope and I'm starting to plant seeds to close the gap. Wouldn't it be great if we could not only just get that feeling better so you can golf again, but if we could truly resolve it once and for all? So, you know, in the reported findings, we get to the scale, -10 is near death, 0 is comfort, +10 is optimal health. You're functioning at your optimum. And eventually I'm going to get them here and I'm going to ask them what they want. But I had to start planting seeds for this early. So this is me beginning to plant seeds. Wouldn't it be cool if we could not just help you feel better so you can golf again, but if we could resolve this once and for all so you could continue to golf, and they will do this. That'd be great. And they literally dropped it into the limbic system. So that's one of 3 places I'm going to drop that in, completely subconscious, right? Hold the mail with no mail. And by the time we get there, it's their idea. So when we bring it up, they look at me like I'm crazy and they go, well, of course I want to resolve this. Of course I want to get healthy and stay healthy. All right. So far, so good?
Brilliant.
So let's get to how do we find out why they're truly here. The first thing I want us to do is I want us to summarize what we know to be true about them. They filled out a questionnaire. And so often doctors walk in like this and they go, so it's Tom, water. Okay, great. Give me a second. All right, good. What's going on? And they're going, I spent 15 minutes filling this thing out. Didn't you read it? Now, from the neuroscience of communications perspective, that's all it takes. Reptilian brain literally starts filtering you out. How come? Because their internal dialogue is having this big discussion about what a yetz you are, right? Why didn't you read that? Why did I take all this time? Damn, am I wasting my time? See, the problem is, while they're having that conversation, they can't listen to you. And this is where you come in and you tell them about chiropractic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you to summarize what you know to be true. Look them in the eyes, right? Summarize what you know to be true and say, Tell me what's going on. How can I help? Now you'll notice I didn't say, show me where it hurts. When did it start? What makes it better? What makes it worse? I didn't do any of that. I said, tell me more about it. How can I help? Dr. Tom, why am I asking that question? Any idea?
Because you summarize the surface level of what's going on. Now you're trying to find out why they're really there, getting to their emotion.
Exactly. See, I want them talking about what's important to them. Remember, I'm trying to get the reptilian brain's attention, and I want to keep its attention. If I can get them talking about them, are they engaged?
Yes.
Start off getting them to talk about them, right? I understand you have this going on. Please tell me more about it. They will start talking about them. I built rapport. I relieve concerns and fears. Information is flowing. So far, so good. Now, here's the deal. They will only respond in one of three ways. It's impossible to respond in any other way. They will either talk about diagnosis or lack of diagnosis. They will talk about pain, or they'll talk about how it's affecting their life. Now, when they respond, you're going to do two things. One, you will always acknowledge or commiserate. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that kind of thing. And then we're going to connect the dots and make the picture bigger. We're going to start to draw their story out of them. I'm going to connect the dots with my story, and I'm going to apply it to their story, drop it into their limbic system. All right. So I understand you have this going on. Please tell me more about it. They talk about diagnosis or lack of diagnosis. Here's what that sounds like. Dr. Tom, I got to tell you, I'm so frustrated. I've seen a dozen different doctors. They all say different things, right? One says that I got this problem. They gave me that pill. Then I got cotton mouth and I took this. Now I'm constipated, right? This one says I got a disc problem, right? Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm so frustrated. How would you acknowledge that or commiserate?
I'm really sorry to hear that, would be the first stop.
That'd be it. I'm really sorry to hear that. Be a human being first and a doctor second. Now, if I want to connect the dots and make the picture bigger, part of my story is I'm a specialist. Part of my story is I help people that no one else has been able to help. Now, I could tell you that, listen, I want you to know in this office, we help blah, 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 which gets him to start drooling. Or I could say, hey, Tom, listen, I got to tell you, I'm really sorry that you are so frustrated, and probably 8 out of 10 of the people that I see are just like you. They've already seen a dozen different doctors, if not more. They're very frustrated. They're not getting results. Let's see if we could look through a different pair of glasses today. Let's see if we can see if there's something else that no one else has seen before, so we can truly resolve these problems once and for all. Sound fair?
It's brilliant. You've just pinned it together perfectly, that your story on their story. Makes so much sense.
That's it. But I'm applying it to their story. That's the key. I'm applying it to their story. I pinned it to their story exactly as you just said. And you'll see, literally, I took myself out of the tank of people who have never helped them. And I said, well, I know that you've seen all these people that have you. Let's see if we can look through a different lens. And if we can see things from a different perspective and really resolve this once and for all. Seed number 2, right? We just planted seed number 2 for resolve versus just feeling better. Again, completely under the radar. So if we don't do that, what happens is you start talking about their pain, but they want to whine about how frustrated they are. And it goes on and on and on, and it never ends because they never felt heard. Right? When I listen to live ones, I was just listening to one the other day when I was talking to this talk about that. And as soon as this gal, within about 4 seconds, I paused it because I don't listen ahead of time. And I go, be very careful with this gal. She's a talker. And he laughs. He goes, oh my God. He goes, she owned me. She just owned me. I couldn't get out of this thing. And then as soon as she went into this part about how she's so frustrated, blah, 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 he did that, where he said, let's see if we can, resolve it. And she immediately, you heard her go and started talking about her pain. She literally let go of that, right? So that's how we can start to get from 1 to 10 in 5 minutes instead of 20 minutes, because we don't have to listen to this whole diatribe on nonsense that doesn't matter. Okay, so diagnosis or lack of diagnosis. Now, let's assume they talk about pain. Now, pain sounds like this. Arr, 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 arr. That's what pain sounds like, right? I heard there. Now, if they talk about pain, you're going to acknowledge or commiserate. I'm so sorry to hear that. It must be awful. I know as a roofer, that must be terrible. And then I'm going to do what I've done a million times before. OPQRST of pain. When did it start? What makes it better? What makes it worse? Does it, radiate? Blah, blah, blah. You've done it a million times before. Now, I remember in class, teachers telling me, never talk about their pain. Really? And I get it, because my story is we don't deal with pain. We help people get healthy and stay healthy, right? But that's my story. Their story is I'm in pain. So I think it's nonsensical. Meet them exactly where they're at. Now, am I going to bridge the gap? Yes. Am I going to get them to say, I understand this is a health problem, not a back problem? I'm going to get them there, but I have to meet them where they're at, right? So remember we talked about the big gap. I liken it to the Grand Canyon. I'm not sure what the similar big gap is in where you guys are, but there's no way you can jump across the Grand Canyon, right? It's huge. That's what we're asking people to do. We stand on the other side and we go, jump. And they're going, dude, there's no way I can build a bridge, walk over, meet them where they're at, which is in pain. So talk about their pain. All right. Here's the big one. 75 to 80% of the time, when you say, I understand you have this going on, please tell me more about it. What they're going to say is, I have pain every time I blank. I have pain and now I can't blank. I have pain, I'm afraid I won't be able to blank. What do they want to talk about?
What they can't do, their problem.
Yeah, they want to talk about blank. That's exactly what they want to talk about. I have pain, now I can't surf, right? I have pain and now I can't sleep. That's what they want to talk about. And if you just talk about OPQRST of pain, they will be very frustrated because they want to talk about surf, right? Think about it. Do you happen to love a sport or activity for yourself?
Yes, I do. Yeah, cycling.
Cycling. So you're telling me, dude, this thing's going on, my low back's hurting, my knees hurting, I'm not able to cycle. Cycling is a huge part of my life. And I just started talking about your pain versus I go, so how often are you cycling? Great. And are you doing road or mountain? No, I'm doing road. And see, you get to start talking about what interests you, and I've got you engaged. Remember, I'm trying to get the information, I'm trying to keep you engaged. So it's really, really simple. Now, here's the key. When I talk about their life, it's work, play, and home. Work, play, and home. Home is family time, chores, and sleep. So work, play, and home, I don't care if you're talking about swinging a hammer at work. I don't care if you're talking about swinging a golf club at play. And I don't care if you're talking about swinging your grandchild at home. It's all the same story. I'm going to apply the exact same story to every single person, every single time. I'm just going to fill in the blanks, and I'm making it about them. So all I have to do is I talk about their performance as a roofer, their performance as a golfer, their performance as picking up your grandchild. Then after performance, I look at less than. Am I concerned I'm going to have to do less, or I've already had to do less? And then I'm going to talk about quit. Have you already had to quit, or are you afraid you're going to have to quit? Now, here's where I get to start to apply my story to their story. So, Dr. Tom, do you buy that I've got them fully engaged at this moment?
Yes, you have. Yep.
Good. So I understand you scroll down. Please tell me more about it. Yeah, man, got this shoulder pain. I'm a roofer, and every time I swing the hammer, it hurts. How would you commiserate with that?
I'm sorry to hear that. It must be very frustrating not to be able to work as well as you could do.
Perfect. Now let's talk about performance. What do roofers do for a living? Tell me 3 things they do.
Climb ladder, swing a hammer, and lift stuff.
Exactly. Climbing ladders, carry heavy stuff, and I'm swinging a hammer, right? So if I say, how's it affecting you on the job? Most common answer, I can handle it. Where do you go from there? Nowhere, right? So listen, you're climbing ladders, you're carrying heavy things, you're bending over, you're swinging a hammer. And when you've got that terrible shoulder pain, how's that affecting you? Do you see what a different question that is?
Yes.
Right? And they'll go, well, every time I swing it, it's like a 10-penny nail getting driven into my shoulder. Oh man, that's got to be awful. So how many times do you swing a hammer in a day? Dude, bang, 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 click, bang, bang, bang. I mean, all day long. That's what it hurts every time. Oh my God, that's got to be awful. Then I can just talk about performance on the job. Is it decreasing the amount of work that you're able to get done? Do you get paid piecemeal or by the hour? Are you wiped out by the end of the day, right? Now I'm trying to make this story bigger. And I just look at, have you missed any work? Are you concerned if it progressively worsens, you're going to miss work? Now that's part of my story, right? I'm not trying to ruin them, which we've all heard from the scare techniques, right? I'm not trying to ruin them and make a mountain out of a molehill. I'm just curious. Are you concerned if it progressively worsens, you'd be missing work? Have you already had to quit? Have you missed? Are you concerned if it progressively worsens that you're going to have to quit work, right? Do you get that? That's the same exact thing. What about a golfer? Tell me performance of a golfer.
What do they do?
Yeah, what's a golfer do?
Lifts a bag, swings a club, and walks.
Yeah. So listen, how is this affecting your game? Is it affecting your backswing, your long game, short game, long game? And is it affecting your score, right?
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Do I have you fully engaged?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm cycling, man. Is it affecting your, so yeah, it's, I go out with my friends. Normally I'm at the head of the pack and now I'm at the back and I'm with all the, the old farts back there. And like again, you're right there with their story about why this is so important to them. That's why they're here, right? Swinging your grandchild, it's the exact same thing. Now, if I want to apply my story to your story, and we've had that conversation, all I have to do is say, so Dr. Tom, if I understand it correctly, you're concerned that if this progressively worsens, that you're going to have to stop cycling altogether. Is that true?
Yes.
All right. And if I do understand it correctly, you don't just want to get feeling better so you can cycle again, but you'd like to resolve this once and for all so you can cycle for the next several decades. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you watch his eyes, he literally just did it again. And we're just role playing. Yeah, that is true. Bam, 8-ball corner pocket. I saw that happen. I know what I'm trying to accomplish. And I move on. It's as simple as that. Right?
Yeah.
Now, what happens if you say something about golf because they wrote it in their history and then they go, oh, no, it was 40 years ago. It happened once. Am I now going to say, are you concerned you're going to have to quit altogether? No. So if I want to find out why they're truly here, I can spend a lot of time talking about work, play, and home, or I can just ask you $1 million question. Dr. Tom, if I want to find out why they're truly here, what question can I ask them?
Why now?
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly the question. Why now? Why are you here now? You've had this stuff going on for 30 years, off and on and off. Why now? The next words out of their mouth is why they're here. Oh, it's not about golf. It's about, my mom had this and then she had a surgery. My dad had this and got a dowager son. Right? And they'll tell you. And now you do the exact same thing. Acknowledge and commiserate, connect the dots, and make the picture bigger. That's how we utilize the neuroscience of communications.
Fascinating. And it's so simple, which is beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
It is. I have 15 hours on this subject. We go through the consult, the exam, the report of findings, daily interaction, re-exam, report. We literally look at the series of questions you ask people. You know what you're trying to accomplish, right? Like literally on my forms, it's like, here's the questions you're asking. Then on the study ones, it's here's what you're asking. This is why you're asking. This is what you're trying to accomplish. And as soon as you accomplish it, move on. So instead of going 20 minutes in all this detail to get to number 10, I asked this, I accomplished it, move on. I asked this, I accomplished it, move on. 5 minutes into it, I'm there, move on. It's really that simple.
What I love is so great about it is that it is simple, but it's also, it's very genuine to connect with the person in front of you.
Absolutely.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of chiropractors shy away from encouraging people to take up care because we know that's what's going to make the difference to their lives. And like you said at the start, we're working with the people who want to have it anyway.
That's right.
Just appealing to them.
And here's the deal. The reason why, and I hear this all the time, I ask docs, how often do you get adjusted? All right, well, how many adjustments are you recommending for your patients? All right, well, that's a contradiction. Right? So why aren't you recommending what you would recommend for your family member or yourself? And the answer is, I'm afraid to. They're going to think I'm trying to rip them off. They're going to think I'm all about the money. But what if you could get them to ask you for it, right? What if you could get them to literally say, I think I'm a -4. I'd like to get to a +10. I think that's going to take probably 1 to 2 years to get there. I'm super motivated to get there. I know I need to get my subluxations taken care of. I know I need to eat better, exercise, and deal with stress. I get that if I do this, not only should I feel better, but all these other wonderful things could happen in my life. Doc, I understand it's a health problem, not a back problem. I want to get healthy and stay healthy. How can I do that? Now, can you imagine if they actually said that to you? And I promise you they can. And I had talked to you that I'm going to give you all a link. And in that link, you can download the brochure that I use where I'll teach you exactly how to get your patients to say this. And then you'll see how we walk people through this, exactly how you do it. And it's a 84-minute on-demand program where I go into all the details of everything you'd ever need to know about how to do that. But it's through a series of Socratic questions, through your examination, and into your report of findings. And if the person said to you, literally, here's what they're going to say out loud. I understand where my subluxations are. I know they could not just be because of my headaches, but also my sinus problems, indigestion, and PMS. I understand what brought them on in the first place. I know what will happen if I don't get it taken care of. If I do get it taken care of, I get that I can not only feel better, prevent problems in the future, reverse the effects of the aging process. I could be healthier in 5 years than I am now, and I could have a better life. I get it's a health problem, not a back problem. I want to get healthy and stay healthy, and I'll do what you tell me to do, doc. Just tell me what I should do. So my question to you, doctors, is if your patients literally said that out loud, and they then said, I recognize where I'm at, I know where I want to get to, I know how long it's going to take, would you then tell them the truth about the care that they need?
Of course.
It'd be much easier, right? Because you're not feeling like they're going to feel that way about you. They're begging you for it. They're literally saying, why didn't anyone tell me this before?
So good.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful, and it's going to be so good for the people who will go to that link. And I really appreciate you offering that to our listeners. It's not only going to make a difference to those people, but the people that they serve and their communities, and that's going to have a huge effect. And like I said to us, go on.
Go ahead. Well,
I was going to say, like I said to us before, I'm just going to put this in here because I said to us before the show, like, you have influenced so many people around the world, not just directly like you and I are doing, but the people who are now listening to this, who then put it on board for the people who take care and their families. You know, you should be so proud of that, and thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you ever, Pat Tempo had talked about the tombstone exercise. Did you ever do that?
I didn't, but I heard of it.
What would you like to be put on your tombstone? And I literally wrote pages on that subject, and it finally came down to small pebble, huge ripple.
Wow.
Right. So when we started talking, you said, oh man, I used to listen to the CD about you. And then I started doing this stuff that I'm teaching in that webinar. And you're going, thanks so much, man. I do that, and it's really helped. That's what brings such joy to me, because I know all the people you've helped to get the care that they truly needed instead of just getting out of pain. Right. And it's huge. So the link is theohcsystem.com/Dr. Tom, DRTOM. So the OHC for Optimal Health Coaching System.com/DR Tom. You'll get this brochure that I teach you how to use. You can print off as many as you like forever. You'll learn how to use it. You'll learn how to ask Socratic questions with your patients. You'll learn how to do this with your patients and get them to figure out what they truly want. I'm offering a 60-minute integration session if you find it extremely valuable and you're very interested in learning and doing more. I actually, coming up May, have about 3 coaching spots coming up, which is really rare for me that I have any spots opening, but I do. And if you're serious about coaching, it's something I'm positive you want to help people get healthy and stay healthy. I can help you do that. The vast majority of the clients that I work with do zero marketing. It's all internal referrals. We have over 1/3 of our folks right now waitlisted a month or 2 in advance. And it's just with people who want to get healthy and stay healthy. And when they stay that long, you don't need to process that many new patients, right? Because they're there forever. So if you'd like that, again, the ohcsystem.com/DRTOM.
Thank you, Russ. And we're going to put that in the show notes so people can definitely click the link to that. And I really would encourage people to do so. We've heard a snippet of what Russ has got to offer today, and it's been so valuable in such a short space of time. And there's so much more that you've got to give, and I would encourage people to go and look into that. Russ, if you could leave us with a final message for our audience, small pebble, big ripple, what would it be? What would you leave us with?
Here's I appreciate you asking that. It just popped into my head when you said it. Look, last year was a tough year for a lot of people. I coach an office in London with 3 associates, and they got shut down. I don't know how long you guys were shut down, like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I mean, it was a long time you guys were shut down for. I know that this sounds like a nonsense story, but I swear to you, I'm telling the truth. Last year, out of 21 years of coaching, I had more of my offices that I coach have their best year ever, including taking that time off than any other time in my practice. This January, February, March, we've just had more people have their best 3 consecutive months than they've ever had before. And the reason for that is COVID got them to quit focusing on pain and focus on health. The reality is what we offer to people is an avenue towards health. Get healthy and stay healthy for a lifetime. Is pain a part of it? Yes. When I'm in pain, do I want to get out of pain? Yes. But it's about helping them get healthy. When you transition from just talking about their pain, and I'm not saying don't meet them there, meet them at pain, but then take them over to this, take them over to get healthy, stay healthy for a lifetime. If you actually do that for them, right now, more than any time that I have been around, I started practicing in '88, so it's been a while. People want what we offer. They just don't Google chiropractor to get it because they don't know what we do. And that's our fault. We shot ourselves in the foot. But when they come into your office and you bridge this gap and they say, wow, I had no idea. Why didn't anyone ever tell me this before? Your practice will explode like it's never exploded before. I guarantee you that's true.
Amazing. Thank you, Russ. Thank you ever so much for being on the show today. I really do appreciate you and the time that you've given us. Thank you very much.
Aloha, my brother. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.